Napoleon is one of the most famous military commanders of all time, and I think every DM out there should be stealing from him. But the most valuable stuff we can steal has nothing to do with combat or tactics. I'm Edariad, I've been playing for over 20 years, and in this video I'm going to teach you 4 techniques, all taken from the Napoleon playbook, that I believe will massively transform your D&D games. How though, you ask? Well, the idea that inspired me to make this video is this quote from the guy. In war, morale is the material as 3 to 1, which basically means that how people feel, in this case soldiers, is 3 times more important than the material stuff, in this case weapons, etc. And I actually think this applies to DMing. Only for DMing, the material stuff is not weapons, but the rules, the maps, or the encounters you hope are perfectly balanced. And morale is the way the players feel at the table and the smiles you get when they experience one of those sessions that will live rent-free in their head for a while. So, what do we steal? For our first technique, let me tell you a story. In 1802, Napoleon decided to create a new medal called the Legion of Honor, or Légion d'honneur in French, which still exists to this day, by the way, and it looks like this. So you know, simple. Some people around him were a bit skeptical at first and said those medals were babbles, and Napoleon was like, yeah, and famously said, you call these babbles. Well, it is with babbles that men are led. You do not make men fight by reasoning. The soldiers need glory, distinctions, and rewards. Some people see this as cynical, but I don't think it is. He just meant that symbols are very good at motivating people. So, stealing this is about creating better rewards for players. The first thing I think you should start experimenting with is stop defaulting to gold and gear. I'm not saying never give treasure, obviously, but I think it's often the most forgettable way of rewarding players. For example, say the party just saved a little river village from some raiders. Instead of giving them some gold, how about the villagers rename the bridge that crosses the river after them? It becomes Variel's Crossing because Variel the wizard helped defend it. Or maybe do exactly what Napoleon did, and the Duke gives the characters a small sigil they can pin to their chest from the Order of the Veil. Absolutely zero mechanical effect. But now, when they walk into a tavern or shop in the market, people will start looking at them in a different way. Even simpler, maybe someone important just remembers them. Napoleon often claimed that he knew his officers by name, info about their regiment and the battles they had fought. Having an important NPC remember something about the party, or even a specific player, can be a small reward in itself. The cool thing about this is you do 2 things at the same time. 1, you please the players and motivate them, because the reward is now directly tied to the story and to the events that happened in the game. And 2, you add depth to your world by giving it lasting consequences. If you struggle with coming up with interesting non-treasure rewards, I actually made a collection of random tables with over 100 entries you could start using today. It's available on my Patreon, along with many other cool DM tools, so I will just leave a link in the description. Again, keep giving them golden loot, Those guys need to eat and deserve the pretty room at the inn after what they've done. But, this lasts longer. In 2005, I started playing in what would be a 2-year-long Warhammer fantasy campaign, and at some point we killed a dragon and became known as the Fellowship of the Dragon, and the Emperor proclaimed us saviors of the realm. And I still remember it and care about it literally 20 years later. Okay, so Napoleon already taught you how to reward people better after they've done something important. But how do you get them to care before there's anything to reward? Before I tell you this, I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, which is World Anvil. The first technique we saw helps you create more immersive worlds, and these guys make it even easier. World Anvil gives you a tool that's amazing at managing TTRPG campaigns, and it supports over 106 tabletop systems. You get access to a full digital DM screen, stat blocks, character sheets, maps, but also the ability to organize and find your lore in a very efficient way. It's an extremely popular tool with over 3 million DMs using it, for a good reason. If you're like me and also like to write or just build worlds for fun, you also get tools to manage timelines, family trees, lore articles that automatically link together, and much more than I can talk about in just a few seconds here. Basically, everything you need to both build your world and play in it. And they were kind enough to give you guys a discount code on their annual subscription too. So go to worldanvil.com, just click the link in the description, it's easier, and use code Edariad for 51% off your yearly subscription. Okay, so now let's go back to 1796. Napoleon just got handed the command of the army of Italy, which is in bad shape. They haven't been paid, even shoes and food are becoming rare things, so as a result, morale is not great. And so what he does is he stands in front of them and reminds them who they are and what's waiting for them. The line everyone quotes is basically, "Soldiers, you're naked and ill-fed. It is my design to lead you into the most fertile plains of the world. There you will find honor, glory, and wealth." And it worked. So then they started winning. This is Napoleon, duh. And so he did this second thing that's very smart too. He basically read them their own highlight reel, so to speak. Like, in 15 days, you won 6 victories, you took this many cannons, this many prisoners, etc. And he told them that they belonged to the army of Italy, which, after what they'd been through, meant something and mattered a lot. These speeches are the cool versions Napoleon wrote about a long time after the fact, and we'll actually come back to that later in the video. But it worked so well. So how do you steal it for DMing? Well, you do 2 things. The first one is, when you start a new campaign, arc, or maybe even session, open with a 30-second proclamation. You address players as a unit and tease some glory. You are the only 4 people who know the mountain pass is going to fall, and if you hold it, songs will get written about it tonight. This helps do 2 things. First, it massively boosts engagement at the very start of the game, where things usually tend to take some time to get going. And second, if you do it properly, it makes the players try to live up to it. So it makes it easier to give some long-term direction to the game and keep the pacing up. And the second thing to steal is the highlight reel idea. At the end of the session, you just take 20 seconds and give them a short recap. Something like, okay, so tonight you broke a siege, turned the captain against his own lord, and jumped off a building onto a dragon. I don't know, make it sound cool. The idea is that re-narrating key moments makes it easier for the players to realize how cool what they accomplished was. Also, they will now be very hyped, and you will get a +5 bonus on your roll against the big bad session scheduling monster. I'll even make that bonus +10 if you subscribe to the channel right now, by the way. I'm just nice like that. Okay, so tool number 3 now. Remember how I said Napoleon made the speeches sound better? I think it may be his most powerful secret weapon, so to speak, and also the one thing DMs can use most effectively. To understand what I mean, let me show you this. This is Napoleon Crossing the Alps by Jacques-Louis David. It's so famous, I'm sure you've seen it before. He looks badass, right? You always look badass with a cool cloak on a horse with dark clouds in the background. The point is, it's the picture of a hero. And that's what he wanted. Napoleon commissioned it and told the painter to show him calm, mounted on a fiery steed. But that scene never happened. He did cross the Alps, but in fine weather, with a guide, on a mule, because Napoleon wanted to look badass, for sure, but also he wanted to actually cross without dying. So basically, my point is, propaganda works. And fortunately, we're just people enjoying a silly game about made-up stories, so we can try to use this to have more fun without accidentally conquering half of Europe. Before we panic, this is not going to be about lying to the players, fudging, and all that. The point is, the perception of scale matters more than the actual scale. And I think this is very useful when we're dealing with villains. Basically, I think you should be using show don't tell on Napoleon boosted steroids. Instead of just showing the players the villain and saying, oh, he's very evil and powerful, you hide him for a while. And you just make sure the players keep seeing the consequences of their actions. Like they might find a village that paid the required tribute and still got burned anyway. Or meet an NPC who refuses to say their name. You keep adding, mixing and matching these elements so that when the villain finally walks into the room, the stat block is the last thing the players will think about because they will have created a monster in their mind that's probably a lot scarier than anything you could have written down. You try to make your villain a fiery stallion and to use the player's imagination to paint it, basically. Using this makes prep easier because the imagination of the players fills in blanks you could have never thought about. And speaking about prep, the next thing I want you to steal from Napoleon might unfortunately mess with you a little bit. the one thing many specialists point to when talking about what Napoleon's genius truly was is a problem every person in power has, which is that information lies. Even if your chain of command is well established, the reports that come up the chain are always altered or sanitized, so to speak. The officers wanted a good, and so by the time the report arrives at the top, you have two stories, the official one that you hear and the real one, which eventually disappears. And so the genius thing Napoleon did is he built a workaround by handpicking young officers he trusted more than anyone else, and basically send them out as his personal eyeballs. The job was to just go somewhere, look at the real situation, come back and tell him the truth. This is the directed telescope idea. You create a private channel that points at reality and cuts through the noise. And I believe thinking about this can massively help you as a DM. Because you can make a case that prep, your notes, etc., is the official report in a sense. Many DMs structure it in a linear way, and it ends up being the version of the game where everything goes to plan. And then, reality happens. One player is excited and engaged, but a second one is getting bored and checking their phone. And when that happens, many DMs keep running the report, so to speak. They push through the prepped scene because it exists. They spend time on it, even though the table is telling them the truth and is being completely ignored. By the way, I'm not saying everything is always the DM's fault. I know some players are not even trying, but that's not the point. If you're in this situation, you might as well try to fix it by stealing the telescope idea. Focus on that board player and treat them as intelligence. You can try talking to them nicely, you might have some power as the DM, but you're not a bloodthirsty French emperor. But maybe, if they're not usually like this, take what they're saying with their body language as an indication to do something and cut the scene short. For example, maybe it's a fight that's dragging. Well, if the players don't know how many HPs the monster has left, even if it's not 0, have them die or flee. If the Duke's Ball social encounter is taking too long, maybe someone screams or an explosion happens. The point is, do something and keep monitoring the reactions of the players. The thing you should be watching is not your notes, but the reactions and the faces of the players. It's literally in the first paragraph of the new Dungeon Master's Guide. You're the player who makes sure everyone is having fun. Be careful though, because this can become a trap. When technology progressed and armies got radios, helicopters, and all that fun stuff, it showed that the telescope idea could also be used to micromanage from above and prevent the people who were actually fighting from doing so effectively. So the point is, read the room, but don't become a helicopter DM. It's all about scale, Don't try to overinterpret every single facial expression, but try to use signal bundles to know when to get out of the way or steer the game in a different direction. You probably clicked on this video wondering how a military genius could help you become a better DM if I wasn't going to be talking about combat. But I actually think it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Napoleon couldn't actually control the battles. By that, I mean that war is messy and chaos arrives quickly. Plans break in contact with reality, And that's just like D&D. Napoleon was an insanely good strategist. For a DM, I think that would be someone amazing at prep. But many historians actually argue that he was an even better improviser. He knew how to react to the mess, fast. You can't control what the players are going to do once the game starts. It's actually the point. So what you should try to do is to control the things that decide how the game will feel, like what the players believe about their characters, what makes them want to play them, and what drives them. You need to make them want to be a group with common interests and beliefs. And doing that, you will kill the "my character is a lone wolf" problem, the "my character would never do that" problem, and many others. You should help them create a mental model of the game with 2 layers. They have their character, and that's important, but the group is an entity as well, and thinking like a war commander can help you make that aspect more impactful at the table. If that sounds like a lot, start small. Maybe it was just one of these. Try the reward thing. It's very easy and really effective. And then tell me how it went in the comments. I just love reading this stuff. And maybe your idea can help a fellow forever DM. And if you think, okay, that's all well and good, but I don't know, man, this DMing thing is just so hard, I don't know where to start, you should click on this video next, where I show you a proven method to become a great DM fast that does not even require playing the game.